Today we're going to go over the features of the QTopic 380, the basic functions and operator setup of the machine. The power switch for the QTopic 380 is located on the back operator side panel. Press it to the up position, marked I, to put power to the machine. The basic features of the QTopic 380. On the front we have the main feed table with the in-feed belts and our side guides for setting our paper. We have the operator control panel here to set the jobs. Here we have our pressure setting for our nip roller, which controls this heated nip roller to compress against the lower roller. This front system here is the feeding gate system that allows the sheets to correctly feed into the machine. We have the front guard that is removable when we're loading the film to give access to the nip roller. The front chrome roller, which is also called the nip roller, is heated on the upper roller. Next we have our decurling device down in this area, where it's controlled by this knob here. Turn it clockwise for more decurling, counterclockwise to remove the decurling. We utilize that for all single-sided lamination. The next set of gray rollers is what are called our pull rollers that keep the web taut between the nip roller, the pull roller across the decurling. Up here we have our supply mandrel. This is where the film and the sleeking film gets loaded onto the machine. The back of the machine, this is what is called our bursting rollers. They are the rollers that are utilized to separate the sheets when you are doing lamination. The QTopic 380 has 3 safety interlocks on the machine. First one being on the front shield. Safety interlock must be engaged in order for the machine to function. Also has a safety interlock on the rear burst roller. Interlock out must be in place in order for the machine to function, as well as the emergency stop located on the top non-operator side panel. Press it down in emergency. Must do a quarter turn clockwise to re-engage power to the machine. The primary laminating nip roll is controlled. The pressure is controlled by an air pneumatic cylinder. This is my regulator valve that controls. I raise this knob up, turn it counterclockwise. It reduces the pressure on the roller. Turning it clockwise increases the pressure on the nip roller. Generally for lamination in most applications, you're going to want to be at the 0.5 bar of pressure, which is roughly the 12 o'clock position. Once I have that set, push my regulator valve knob back down and that locks the regulator in place. To check the temperature on the machine, which this is listing where the temperature is, you press the primary big white button, press it down. While you're holding it down, it will flash and it will tell you what the current temperature of the machine is. When I release the button, that is the set temperature of the machine. We're now going to go over setting the laminator for the correct paper length of the job I am running. I'm planning on running a 12 by 18 sheet, so I press the paper length button, which illuminates it. Turning this clockwise advances the number up. And I want a certain amount of overlap on my sheets, so I'm going to set this at 17 and 20-30 seconds as my sheet length for an 18-inch stock. We're now going to show you the basic setup of lamination on the QTopic 380. We have the supply mandrel where the film gets loaded. It has a gripper shaft both left and right that grab on the inside edges of the cores. There's 2 rubber rings located on each of the mandrel grippers. That is where your film stops against. To load the film, remove the Allen key stop wrench, open up your arm, take your roll of film, and this film is wound adhesive on the inside, so I will load the film this way, meaning the film will come off of the bottom. I will need to take off my gripper shaft with the same Allen key. Generally do a half turn. We'll loosen the gripper shaft off the machine. I can now load this film on, bring it up against this rubber stock. Now take the operator side gripper shaft, bring it in so that the film is snug. I want to ensure that the film is roughly centered on my rollers and the entire lamination web. Now take my wrench, generally do a quarter turn. Do not over tighten this, it only needs to be snug. You may run the risk of cracking this plastic housing if you over tighten this set screw. Bring the lock back into position. Put your Allen key back in to lock the swing arm. We're now going to demonstrate how to thread the machine using lamination film. Firstly, remove the interlock switch, rotate the safety guard out, set this aside. I now have my heated roller, which is currently at a 248-degree temperature, so use caution. This nip roller is warm. What I want to do is take a heavier piece of paper, preferably a cover stock material. On the left-hand edge, I want to put a tight little curl on this corner, and I'm going to rotate this underneath that nip roller, ensuring that it comes out on this side of the roller. Now rotate my sheet so that I'm bringing my non-operator side corner underneath this rolling bar, above my decurler bar, and I want it to go right between my pull rollers here. Put that in place, then I can use this roller, rotate it to bring this sheet through into position. I roughly want this centered. I just want this, about this amount of paper on the back side with a generous tail on this side. A longer sheet is recommended if you have it. Next, take my lamination roll. I want to go underneath my idler bar here, using caution to not let the film touch that heated nip roller at this point. So I take this film, work any of the wrinkles out. I want to do a couple rolls of film, and I bring it down and touch it to the heated nip roller just quickly so that I seal it onto that point. Next, I want to rotate that over on both of my edges. Briefly touch it so that that film is all sealed. Bring that film down. Now I take my paper, bring it up, and that film is now stuck to my sheet that has gone through the laminator. For setting up your sheet format, you want to always ensure that you're using a laminate film that is narrower than the width of my page, except wider than my image area. To determine this, I'm using a 12-inch wide sheet. My laminate film is 11 3/4 inches wide, which is ideal so that I'm narrower than my paper, but I'm wider than my image. My image on this sheet is 9 inches, so I know I have plenty of coverage of laminate over my image area. To set my side guides, I want to make sure that they are just offset from the edge of my lamination roll. To check that, take your measure, measure from this side panel to where the film is located, and then bring that tape measure down here, and I want to offset my paper from the edge of my film. Now to set my side guides to ensure that they are perfectly square with the machine, I take my sheet, make sure this is the factory edge on both these edges, slip it underneath this front gate so that it's a positive stock. Slowly bring this to the right so I'm touching my side guide Now I can adjust these so that my sheet is going to be squarely fed into the machine. Lock those back in position. I'll double check myself. Everything is nice and square against the gate and my side guides. Now for the next step in loading, I have my sheet that I've already slipped through the nip roller and the pull roller. Now I take another sheet, put it under the guard between the back bursting rollers, bring it into the back section, and I want to lift it over this tail of film and set it in place so that this sheet is exiting it out and it guides that other sheet below it right through the laminator when I go to hit load. Now we're going to run our first several sheets through the laminator while we set up the job. We put our guard back on, make sure the interlock switch is in place. I now have another sheet of scrap paper that is set for the same size as my job. Bring it up to the gate. I'm going to press the load button and push this sheet underneath my nip roller. I now let go of the load button and my one sheet is underneath my initial front sensor. Now that we've loaded our one sheet underneath the nip roller and it's under the sensor, I can now set up to actually run the job in run mode. Bring another sheet right up against this front gate, against my side guide, and I'm now ready to hit the run button based off of my parameters being set for the correct sheet length. I'm up to temperature and I have the correct pressure on my nip roller. Everything is going through the machine at this point, so I'm going to send through about 3 sheets and then I will do one final setup at the back to set the bursting in position. The green light comes on, meaning I can load my next sheet. I just place it against there. The machine will automatically take the next sheet in place. Green light comes on, set my next sheet on the table. I'm now going to hit the stop button. We're going to go around to the back of the machine to set the skew wheel and the perf wheel so we can do the automatic sheet separation mode. Now we come to the back of the machine where our sheets have been threaded through the machine with laminate, and we're going to install the skew wheel. The skew wheel is a rubber wheel that rides on the surface of the paper and it adjusts the skew of the sheets as they're exiting the back of the laminator. I've got 2 knobs on here that are adjustable. You need to loosen this wing knob enough so that I can put this assembly mounted on the back rail, which is between the pull roller and the burst roller. Depress this rubber wheel. And I want to center this, put this wheel over top of where one of the exit green delivery belts are. You can feel them when you rub your finger along the sheet. You can feel where this green belt is. We want to center this rubber wheel directly over that belt. Put the assembly over the bar, and then we tighten this knob using this little lever. Tightens, you raise this black lever up to go back, drop it down. Continue doing this until the assembly is tight on the square shaft. Now that we've tightened that assembly, we take this adjustment and slightly skew this rubber wheel. Tighten the black knob down, which tightens the whole assembly to the bar. On the front I have an adjustment knob that's clockwise and counterclockwise. Clockwise puts more pressure on the rubber wheel, which causes more traction to skew the sheet. To change your skew back and forth, do a 1/4 turn release of this lever, and you can Loosen that knob slightly and you can adjust the skew of the rubber wheel. Generally you want it to be just off of the pathway of the web. Lock that back in place, tighten your knob, and now the skew assembly is set. You may have to make minor adjustments when you're actually running the job. Now we're going to set up the perforator wheel. The perforation wheel consists of 3 little rows of perforation teeth mounted on this assembly. What these pinpricks do is they penetrate the edge of the film on the operator side in order to create a point for the laminate film to burst for the separation to function correctly. To mount this, I've made a pen mark on the edge of my paper here, right where the edge of my laminate is. We want to make sure that these perforation teeth are inset from the edge of that film by approximately 3 millimeters into the sheet. To mount this to the rail, make sure the black knob is loose, bring it over, slightly lift up on the perforation teeth while you bring this into position. Now tighten the black knob, firmly secured to the mounting rail, and now at the back side I have the same counterclockwise and clockwise adjustment knob to adjust the pressure of these perforation teeth against the sheet. I now have my skew wheel set, my perforation assembly set. I am now ready to run my job. Now I'm going to run my job. To start it, I tap the load button once. That will reset my gate to allow me to take my first sheet and put it into position. Bring it up against the gate, against my side guide. Now I'm going to hit run. Once I hit run, I'm going to slow the speed down to speed 2 while I go around and make minor adjustments to the machine. Now I'm going to hit run. I'm going to slow my speed down to speed 2. Load my next sheet. Everything is functioning as it should, so I'm now going to push the burst button, which is going to start my automatic sheet separation. The sheets now will automatically separate coming out of the back of the machine. So now with the perf wheel puncturing the edge of the film, and my skew wheel slightly making the sheet travel to the non-operator side, what that allows is a slight twisting of the sheet, so when the burst roller comes down, it allows that snap separation. Now I'm going to show you on the supply mandrel for the roll of film. It's controlled by this tension knob here. The more I turn this clockwise, the harder it is for this roll to unwind. You want to apply minimal tension on this supply roll, just enough to remove wrinkles as they come across the nip roller down at the nip point. It's normal to see wrinkles at the very top edge, but right down where it's actually laminating, you don't want wrinkles on the sheet. So you want to turn just enough tension so when the film is unwinding that there's no wrinkles as the laminate is being applied. Too much tension will create necking of the film, which means the film narrows as it goes across the heat source, and that will distort your product at the back side. It will cause the sheets to curl side to side. So you want to apply just enough tension to remove wrinkles from the film, but not too much tension that distorts the film. We're now going to adjust the decurling so that my sheets are flat. As you can see, my initial couple sheets have a slight curl to them upward, meaning I want to apply more decurling. So I turn this clockwise so that my wiper blade comes up against the back of the sheet and reverses that curl. We're going to run a few sheets and see if I've adjusted that enough so that my sheets come out flat. now that I've run several sheets, you can see that my sheet is hanging in a fairly straight line, meaning I've set the decurling to the correct position. I'm now ready to run my job at a higher speed. So now I'm in run mode. I set my sheets down. As soon as the green light illuminates, allows me to set my next sheet up against this side guide. We'll bring it up against the gate. I've now adjusted the speed up. One more speed. So that it's running at a comfortable pace and I'm not losing too much temperature on my heat roller.